Let them come to you. If you really and truly want that relationship with them, let them be the ones that come to you. Go out there, have a bonfire, sit there, laugh, be happy, because when you're happy, when you're having laughter, your frequency is up. That's what draws them to you. My name is Robin Haynes. The background that I have is the Sasquatch people found me when I was very young. They just started showing up. I have not gone out looking for them. I've gone out occasionally with friends and gone out in the woods because I enjoy it, but I've never gone in search of. They found me. They started teaching me things as a small child that they are still teaching me today, different things about their way of life, their culture, their people. 6 years ago, they asked me to go public with a lot of information. I had gone public back in, I think it was 2011 or 12 at the Russian International Scientific Conference with Igor Borstov, and given basic information as far as the flesh and blood side of them, nothing paranormal, and due to death threats and various things that could have put harm to me and my family, I went quiet. 6 years ago, they asked me to go forward again and said, just teach people what we're teaching you. You know, there's certain things we want them to know. I'm not an expert. I'm never going to be an expert. There is no expert in this. When you have people that are telling you that they're an expert, run. Because they are never going to tell us everything, because then they aren't safe. Our people kill what they don't understand rather than learn about it and learn how to live with it. So I don't consider myself an expert. I don't consider myself a researcher. I'm an experiencer. I've never set out to do research. I have done research with Igor Borstov and some other people because it was fun and they asked me to go, but I'm not a researcher. I'm an experiencer. I've lived around them and lived in close vicinity or with them my whole life. When I move, I just get new ones, or I get some from the old groups that will follow. The reason I say they're a type of human is a couple of reasons. Number one, even before the Sasquatch Genome Project came out, I had already known they were human. I simply asked them. You know, when I was little and I saw them running around and they had all this hair, and I thought, oh, look they're just, you know, an animal, because I'm a big animal lover. And it took very little time for me to realize that they were talking. They have speech. They have their own language, plus they can speak our language. They can speak any language that they so choose. And the communication level is astronomical. Their words have a different meaning than ours. You know, there's a few basic things that mean the same, but their words mean different. They have double meanings on most of their words. Various ones will have a different language, just like much to us we have Spanish and, you know, we have Chinese and all these different things. They do as well. But they have their own culture. They have their own way of life. You know, they have their family groups where they are a little bit more forceful in their punishment, I feel like. They also have more patience and understanding and love than we will ever have. They're a high frequency, high energy being. And because of that, all their emotions are at a much higher scale. So when they love, it's the most intense, pure love you're ever going to know. And they can do a projection of emotion onto you. And when they do that with love, I've not found anybody that when they get it to a full max, it doesn't make you cry. Because the love and the purity of that love is much more advanced than what we have. You know, they may be different as far as some of their aspects than us, but they, in my opinion, they're much more intelligent than we are, just in a different way. And so their family groups are very structured. You know, they live a much more structured way of life than we do, but they also have more simple pleasures than we do. You know, they don't have quite as many rules, but the rules that they do have, they're very strict with. It's not like it's a real bendable thing. And they are always family-oriented. When it comes to protecting their children, we think we're protective. That is not even close to how they are. The worst thing in the world that you'd ever want to do is mess with one of their kids. If they want you around their kids, they're going to let you know. Like, they've brought the babies to me, and I've seen the babies, and I've gotten near them. I would never, for any reason, ever make an attempt to touch one. If it were to come to me, that would be because they chose to do that. It would not be that I would invade that space and take that liberty with them. I think what works for me with them is I let them call the shots. Like, if I think they're doing something that's going to be harmful to myself, my family, or our people, I don't have a problem setting boundaries. I set boundaries with them all the time. This is what I would allow. This is, I respect you, you respect me. But as far as communication with them and contact with them, I let them do that. My goal is that they feel safe, they feel respected, as well as myself. And we seem to meet in the middle with that quite well. If the other night I was in a camper and, one of the younger ones tried to come into said camper, and I saw the head and the shoulders and the arm as it came in, and I was like, no, just no. Mom and Dad are not going to be happy if you're in here playing with, the hairless human. And it backed right out, and it was very respectful. I've had them where they get up on the house and they play in the roof or whatever. And it doesn't always, like the first time I tell them to stop, does it take? There was one night I actually got really mad because they would not stop. I couldn't sleep. I finally went outside and I said, you're going to take your hairy butts off this roof, or I'm going to Mom and Dad. I'm going to council. I'm going to go anywhere I got to go. So you're going to stop. But we do have a very good relationship as far as the give and take. And it's based on mutual respect and trust. And you have to build that. I tell people all the time, anybody can go to some areas where they know they're aggressive ones or whatever, and you think you're going to go out there because our people seem to think we're bigger and badder than anything, and we're not. We're peons. And you go out there and you push that envelope because you just want to see one. Well, here's what happens when you push the envelope. They're going to stand their ground, and it's not going to be a good experience. And once that kind of experience happens, you're marked. You're marked that you have a bad experience, and the good ones don't want anything to do with you, and the bad ones are the only ones you're going to get it. So you have a choice. You put in the time, you put in the effort, you put in the respect, and you get that positive experience that will continue to grow and last you a lifetime. Or you push that envelope, you rush it, you go in where you're not wanted, and you have that bad experience, and you lose any chance of the good experience. Now, that doesn't mean that people don't accidentally have a bad experience. That happens all the time. That's a little bit different. That's different than your intent to physically go into an area that you shouldn't be in because they've gotten out of the area so that they can be away from us, but yet we so choose to go in there and poke that bear anyway. Quit chasing them in the woods. They don't enjoy it. I mean, we don't enjoy being chased. They don't enjoy that. That is not a way to warm their heart. If you want to go out and interact with them, but you want to, and we love being in the woods. I love being in the woods. I would walk in the woods 24 hours a day if I could. Go out there, enjoy the nature, connect with the nature, because the energy that you radiate and the frequency you radiate when you are enjoying nature, becoming part of it and being respectful. Everything is respect. If you can't get respect in there, then you're already lost. And go out there and respect that nature. Talk to them while you're walking through the woods. But quit running after them. Quit barreling through the woods, like you have to find them or else your life is going to be over. Let them come to you. If you really and truly want that relationship with them, let them be the ones that come to you. Go out there, have a bonfire, sit there, laugh, be happy, because when you're happy, when you're having laughter, your frequency is up. That's what draws them to you. It draws them to you. When you're happy, it draws them to you because your frequency is up. What else will draw them to you is if you are a negative person, if you are dark, if you are chasing them, and they're going to be drawn to you, but in a bad way. So you want to take that out of the scenario. You want to do the positive. Go out there, talk to them, whether it's in your mind, whether it's verbal, talk to them, connect with things. Have a bonfire, cook some food over it so they can smell the food so they know. I mean, they're going to find you anyway, but the laughter brings them in. Happiness brings them in. Let them come to you. We see so many cases where people are having a bonfire and they see eye shine all around them because they're enjoying themselves at the bonfire. They're in a good place mentally, spiritually, and that brings them in. But they're being given the choice to come in. The choice isn't being taken from them. They don't do well when they have no options. They like the stability. When I started many, many years ago, at a house that I lived in, and we had like 10 acres, and I knew they were all over there. I started the same routine every day. Same time, same place. I would never infringe upon them. I would walk the outer edges of the 10 acres. I would talk to them the whole time and just tell them, if you want to interact with me, I'm here. If you don't, that's fine. This is what I'm doing. I told them, what I was doing. They can read your intent. They don't have to have the verbal words. But when you give them the verbal words on top of the intent, and they match, that pulls a lot for you. You're all born with paranormal abilities. There's none of them that are born just flesh and blood. But what we've learned over time is that if they are not aware that they have these abilities, they aren't going to use them. And that comes from the teachings of the parents. And in some clans, the leader of the clans will just say, listen, we already know we're hooked through a collective consciousness and everybody's telepathic. That's fine. There'll be no other paranormal abilities, or they will allow certain ones. And that's how the children are raised. Now, if you know that you can mind speak, that's great. But if you're not told you can mind speak, how would you know to use it? And it's the same basic principle. If they aren't told that they have these powers, they can't do it. And then you have other clans that are strictly paranormal. So then we end up seeing people that are like, you know, I've seen them in the flesh and blood. They do this, they do this. They don't have paranormal abilities. They actually do. It just means that the clan that they live with, the clan that they are under that ruling, are not allowing those. So they don't know it, so they don't teach their children, and their children don't know it either. And so that's where that comes into it. But they all have them. It's all part of who and what they are. But it just depends on whether or not that particular clan takes advantage of it. And I do use the example of the Amish, and I mean that in the most respectful way to Amish people. Certain sectors are allowed certain things, whether they're allowed electricity or vehicles or various things. They choose that lifestyle. They choose that way of life. There's nothing wrong with that. It's their life. That's how they want to live it. However, it's the same thing with the Sasquatch. If they choose a life as flesh and blood and not to use those paranormal abilities, that's how that clan is done. What I will say as far as how it affects the longevity of their life is it's dramatic. When you have a Sasquatch that works within that paranormal realm, the paranormal realms, the portals, all of these things are done through a higher frequency. Again, frequency and energy controls everything, including our lifelines. That's why, like, you know, they're working on the med beds right now, because it's all energy and frequency, and it works. And it does make us feel better, and it can do great things. So as far as the Sasquatch are concerned, when they're using the paranormal abilities, it raises the frequency, it raises the energy. When they're going through the portals, you know, when they go through these portals, there's no disease in the portals. It's a high, high frequency and high, high energy. So the things that would lower their life expectancy when they stay in only flesh and blood are removed. So the ones that we've noticed, when you have the paranormal aspect to them, they live anywhere from 200 to 400 years. The ancient ones can live up to 1,000 or more. When you have them that live with the confines of the clan that were going to be just flesh and blood, other than possibly mind speak or even maybe just a cloaking, they don't have that life expectancy. You know, you may, if you're lucky, 60 to 100 years, and that they are more age-wise, the life expectancy is more like ours. Well, the ancient ones, you know, they're very tight-lipped on it. Again, you know, these are my opinions and the things that they've told me, you know, so take that as you will. You know, the hierarchy in the clan, you have ones that are actually more special than others, and they, you know, the ancient ones, they live longer, they transcend. It's just a phase where they go through from one frequency to another frequency, and that higher frequency always is going to give you the longer longevity to the life. And, you know, then that transfers as they get older, the knowledge grows, they have more abilities, they have more power, they have a higher intelligence, and they're all highly intelligent anyway. I tell you what, you know, we think that we're the higher species, and we're just so not. It's a different kind of intelligence. It really is. Like, we may have more technology, but let's be real, we got those from the ET. So, you know, we didn't get those on our own. We didn't go from living in a cave, beating on rocks, to, oh, give me a computer. We had a little bit of help with that. So, you know, that determines it as well. But it does, you know, you have that frequency. When you hit a certain level in frequency, you transcend. You go to a different dimension. I've talked to some that were as low as a 9th dimension. I've talked to some that were higher to the 17th dimension. And now they're talking to me and they're going, no, there's some that go 19th dimension. Okay. And they are not Gigantopithecus. You know, we have a lot of theories. That doesn't make them right. And nobody has to believe what I say. You know, I don't expect people to believe every word that I say, and I'm quite comfortable with that. I know that I've been taught by them. I know what I've been shown. And I also know that there's a lot of hoaxers out in this industry. And so I think it's great that people question things. I really do. You know, question me, I don't mind. I know when I go to bed at night, I know what I've been taught, I know what I've been shown, I know what I've been told, and I know that God knows that I don't lie about it. So I'm completely comfortable with it. As long as, the haters are decent and civil, I'm good. You can disagree with me and not be hateful. I'm not anybody that's been trained in crystals. I know people that haven't. That's clearly not me. What I do know about the quartz, there's a lot of meaning to quartz. Quartz is very powerful. Okay, there's various kinds of quartz, like rose quartz, a very loving quartz. You want to get rid of bad dreams, you want, that love and that peace, that tranquility, use your rose quartz. But they do use a lot of quartz, and it's very common to find them in areas that they're there, even if that's not something that's naturally there. It's a protectant. It's one of the strongest protectants there are. I mean, you can use your tourmaline and other things, but quartz is really powerful to them. And I have a very good friend that does radionics, and he uses the mold from Tesla and studied Tesla for a very long time. And you've got a lot of components in it, but you have quartz in it. You have copper in it. Those two combined are major. I have some that will literally take quartz and use it to track you. You'll find pieces of quartz, and and selenite, it's almost like a looking glass, and they can watch you and monitor you. And I get gifted quartz pieces a lot because it is a protectant. They'll tell me if they think something bad's around, put the quartz around you, and I'll put the quartz around me. But they do use it for a lot of different things. They have different ones in the clans that will use various crystals to do various things that they want. When people gift crystals, and I always tell them this, and again, I am not a specialist in crystals by any means, and I don't claim to. They've got me, the Sasquatch have me working in so many different areas, I just have not gotten to that part yet. But they do bring me crystals for various reasons, and I know they do use them. For people that like to gift them crystals, we may know what we think a crystal is used for. That doesn't mean we know what their people use it for. And they can use it for various things. So just be really careful gifting crystals, even if you think it's a good crystal. Like the rose quartz, I feel pretty confident that there's not a whole lot of damage they can do. That doesn't mean they can't. They are going to use it for what they want to use it for. And quartz to them is very powerful.
Robin, what can we do to honor them?
Be kind. Start working with the collective consciousness and understand that it's the law of Ra, the law of one. We are not all in this for just ourselves. There's a bigger picture to everything. Be kind to the earth. We're killing the very thing that keeps us alive, And that's really their main thing. They have so much that they can teach us. Do you know the medicines they have are absolutely incredible? We don't get a lot of them because our people will take them, commercialize them, and make money off of them. It's so sad, and I understand everybody has to have money to survive on. That's not the basis for survival. The basis for survival is consciousness, a collective consciousness. You work together as one for the greater good, for the greater of everybody, not just one single member. Everybody needs to stop trying to destroy what they don't understand and open up their minds and their hearts so they can learn. Again, everything's frequency, energy, and light. The highest frequency there is comes from your heart, and the highest part of the heart frequency is love. When we are down, and everybody has their ups and downs. They do. We're not happy 24 hours a day, and that's okay. That's normal. But primarily, learn to love yourself. It's so important. Everybody's worth it. I tell this to all my clients. You are worth it. You are worth it. And once you believe that you're worth it, then you realize that everybody's worth it. Work together to make this a better place. Protect our planet. Protect each other. Quit trying to kill everything that you don't understand and learn. Learn about it. They have so much information to share, and they learn from us, but there's so much there. Is everything good? No. And Jill, you and I discussed this. The universal balance is both good and bad. You have to have that balance. People become unaligned and unbalanced when they focus too much on certain things. You have to have one foot in their world and one foot in our world, and that gives you that balance so that you can move forward on the path you're supposed to be. We have people that feel like a round peg in a square hole. Why? Because they're off balance, and because the powers that be in our world have got it into our heads. We do not have abilities. We are not powerful. We cannot mind speak, that all these things don't exist that do. When you look outside, the world you see is not reality. When you raise your frequency, when you raise your energy, your eyes start to look through everything in a different spectrum, and then you see what's really there. You know, the old saying of the world is a matrix, absolutely true. Like, I don't want to burst anybody's bubble, and I don't like it to be hard for everybody. But anybody that knows me knows, whether anybody likes it or not, I'm going to be honest about it, which is not always good, but for me, but it's the truth. And it is a matrix. They've confirmed it many, many times. And there's just a multitude of planes. And so the world that we see with our three-dimensional eyes never existed. And it's very difficult when people go into that shift and they realize that what they've always been led to believe is not true. So be prepared for what I call the paranormal meltdown. Drink a lot of water, have a lot of protein, ride the wave, find somebody that you trust or that you feel is honest, contact them, let them help you mentally get through the wave, and then move into that higher dimension and that higher frequency and see what's actually out there, because it's not nearly as bad and scary as everybody thinks it is. But it takes you out of the realm of comfort of that beautiful little box that has been built to hold us in there and keep control of us, because when we are kept control and kept within the paradigm of that box, we no longer have our free will, and we no longer have the truth, and we no longer have the comfort because we have been led to believe things are a certain way. And as long as we believe in that certain way, the powers that be take control and we're led around. And as we become more evolved and our frequency is up and our dimensions change, we go in that fifth dimension and sixth dimension, and we'll always continue to rise. We learn more. We learn more about ourselves as human beings. We learn more about the planet. We learn more about our cryptid friends. We learn more about everything that's actually out there, and we evolve.